Hi, I'm Natalie Moore. I'm the editor of Saratoga Living magazine, and I'm joined here for our first ever roundtable discussion with a few of the people that I'm calling the next generation of Saratoga's bar and restaurant scene. So next to me we have Brianna Collins, the owner of Tin Lint, Noah Frese, the chef owner of Noah's Italian, Nicholas Byrne, the owner of Osteria, Danny? We'll get into the actual pronunciation of that later. And Jake Myers, the owner of Comfort Kitchen. So, hello guys, welcome. I'm going to jump right in with a question and we'll kind of go down the line if you have an answer. So what is your first memory of food and drink in Saratoga?
I actually didn't go out in Saratoga until like a few years ago, so I don't know what my first memory is. Probably not getting into the City Tavern and trying to sneak in. That might be
Not getting in because you were underage or because...
I didn't have my ID on me,
Okay,
but I was of age.
Okay.
I was of age.
Were you trying to go in through the window?
Yeah. I've done that before. Okay, that makes me feel better.
No.
I think my first time was probably at the Night Owl.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a fun spot. We used to just take a party bus up there, just party.
From Albany?
From Albany, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Mine's definitely a lot older. As a little kid at the Wishing Well, when Lou used to play the piano in the tavern, just dancing around with my grandparents.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so wholesome. Night out.
Yeah, I mean,
Wishing well with your grandparents.
mine's also, I mean, it's wholesome and old. My mom used to work, there used to be, where the new Marriott is over by Purdy's, there used to be a big movie theater called Broadway Joe's. And it was like, it's like you sit down, you get your meal,
Yeah.
and you watch a movie. And the thing is, my mom was a server there, and you know, we lived out in Greenfield, so it's like we didn't come to Saratoga a lot.
Yeah.
So I'd sit down, and they would just feed us food because they're like, "Oh, Mary's kids are here. It's like, let's give them food." So I got so fat as a kid because they just kept talking moose. But I remember just going there every other day.
Yeah.
After I got out of like.
In the Purdy's Plaza?
Yeah, it used to be like Broadway Joe's, a whole gymnastics thing, outer zone.
Yeah, I was gonna say I did gymnastics there.
Yeah.
And then the laser tag.
Yep.
Yeah.
All gone.
I think that's my first memory of Saratoga is gymnastics in that plaza. But okay, so that was your first memory. What was your first job in the food and beverage industry?
I worked at a nightclub in Lake George Village, DJ's nightclub, and I started as a cocktail waitress for a few months, and I wanted to be a bartender, and they let me bartend at 19. So that was my first experience.
Okay.
Mine was the Saratoga Winery. I think I was like 17.
Yep.
I was kind of just helping my father out, and I was making pizzas and stuff, and kind of got me into it.
I'm going to keep the trend with Wishing Well. Mine was 15 as a dishwasher back at the Wishing Well.
I think mine was like 15 or 16 too. There was, again, more like eclectic Saratoga things. There used to be like a cafe in the Ruhan building next to the Stewart's.
Yep.
Way over there, and it was called the Cupcake Lab. And one of my friends at the time, his parents owned it, and he's like, "You want a job?" I'm like, "Yeah." So
At the Cupcake Lab?
yeah, at the Cupcake Lab. So I got free cupcakes, again, fattening myself, but so many free cupcakes. But I washed dishes there, and then there was like barista stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, that was my first foray.
Yeah. What's the most like underappreciated job in the restaurant world? Dishwasher or something similar to that?
I don't want to say dishwasher anymore because I think we all love and appreciate dishwashers. I think nowadays it's more like the bar back weight situation where it's like bussers and bar backs are just like get their, you know, like a thankless invisible job versus dishwashers who are like, "Oh, I have your silverware." And you're like, "Oh, thank you so much."
Yeah.
I rely on my barback heavy. He runs the whole place.
Yeah.
Couldn't do without him.
Yeah.
I would say the chef. Reason being, a lot of the times front of house and servers and guests, their first interaction's the server. And then for back of house, their interaction's the server. But everyone kind of forgets the chef's the one making the food, which is making everybody their money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the food runner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the chef.
Honestly, because if you don't have a good food runner, the food's not getting out quick, and you're not going to be able to turn tables.
Yeah.
The food's cold. So.
Yeah. So, Brianna, I know you have been in Lake George, but does anyone have any experience in restaurants or bars outside of Saratoga or like even the capital region? Has anyone worked in like the city or?
Yeah, I worked at Barbalud and Danielle when I was down there in New York City, and then I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
I was the chef out for a Barcelona Wine Bar group, and then, you know, I came back home.
How would you say that Saratoga's like food and beverage scene compares to these other areas?
I would say just upstate New York in general matches up to most food scenes. You know, I mean, there's always places that are your go-to spots, right? But I would say Saratoga is a great foodie scene. Kind of reminds me a lot of my favorite place to go is Portland, Maine. So Saratoga kind of has that vibe to it.
Yeah, I think they're like similarly sized cities,
Yep.
so walkable and yeah. Nick, did you have something to add or?
I was just gonna say, I think piggybacking off what Noah was getting at, I think the Capital District has the closest thing to New York City, Boston food that you're gonna find in a small space. Especially us in Saratoga. I mean, Bree can attest to this. We have more bars than I think half places outside of Manhattan, and I know you can go out to dinner at a different place almost every night for
Right.
a good chunk
Several
of time.
months, yeah. Nick and Jake, you grew up in this area. How has the local Saratoga's food and drink scene changed since you can remember?
So like the first thing to kind of be like, okay, this is new and exciting, I think, was when Hamlin Ghost first opened up. I love Brendan Dillon. But it's like that was kind of the trend to be like, okay, this is where we're at now in terms of like, because nowadays you've seen like it's all what's coming to town is mostly it's more fine dining, more higher end. And then with the following of places like Solevo and the pop up of the whole, Filer Street scene, that's all like on them. And just seeing certain places like put their mark down, you're like, okay, cool. And it's transformed in a way now where it's like you're seeing less traffic on Broadway, which it consistently has been for such a long time, to kind of being spread around the city. Because, even as a kid coming downtown, it's like, I don't think we'd even typically eat downtown in Saratoga because it's always on Broadway. And during the summer, it's just never,
Right.
always busy.
Yeah.
You can't have a restaurant on Broadway and be not busy. It's how it works.
Yeah. Do you have anything?
My only piggyback to that would kind of be, I'm sad to see a lot of the, growing up favorites leave. I miss Lillian's. I miss the parking lot, which is now the Washington, next to Lillian's. Professor Moriarty's which is now the Merc, was insane as a kid growing up. I remember being there with my parents, and they'd drop a menu down in the summer. It would be a local menu and a track menu, and it would say that on the top of it.
Really?
But I'm excited to see what, these next steps have. I think Caroline has a lot of growth potential with, Bree taking over Tin Lint. Definitely to Jake's point, it's awesome to see restaurants on the side streets. I don't remember as a kid really eating on the side streets.
Right.
No.
It was always
Right.
Broadway or by the track or nothing.
Yeah, now you have one, two,
You're counting Philo Street?
3,
restaurant?
4, 5, like in the past year.
Right, open.
Because you have Noah's, you have Standard Fare, you have Eden's?
Elodie
Elodie, where,
coming in on
yeah, where they used to
Philo
be.
Fusion, yeah.
And then you have Phillies on Fire, which is a rebrand, but it's like,
And Bibulous around the corner.
and Biblis around the corner.
Yeah.
So you're talking like 5, 6 new restaurants in a whole street that, 4 or 5 years ago, like pre-COVID, nothing.
Had 2 sushi places and
Next to each other.
The same owners, same sushi place, 2 different owners. Yeah, just on the same street, and that was kind of it.
So that was kind of the last 10, 15 years. What's something that you guys would like to see change in the next 5 years in Saratoga's food and drink scene? And we'll start with Noah.
I'd like to see some more pizza spots open downtown. I mean, that's kind of big. And then also like an Italian deli downtown, as far as like imports almost kind of thing. As far as pizza, I mean, you got to kind of go out of the downtown city to go get
now,
a
especially
slice.
now that DeAndrea's is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just Pizza 7.
It's just Pizza 7, and then if you think anything else close to downtown, I think Gennaro's delivers downtown. They're pretty close by when you think about it.
Yeah. And
But-
West Ave is close-ish, but it's not. It's not walkable.
If you're thinking slices, you're kind of just like, all right, well,
Right. Esperano
yeah.
does have slices,
And
right?
what's his name? Bobby bought it from the old owner, so that's under new ownership too now.
Yeah. Anyone else, anything you'd like to see change? Maybe even like from an industry standpoint, like higher wages or I don't know, something more.
I want rent to go down. I would like rent to go back down, and I'd like less corporate places to come in. Like, I love the whole corporate sector, and I just wish we'd keep them over there as far away from downtown as we can, and then, let
Keep them in Wilton.
I want more small restaurants. I think the inside of my restaurant seats 16 people, and I'm like, I think one of my favorite restaurant experiences way back in the day was Mio Posto. Rest in peace, burned down. But being there, it's like, that was, I don't know if you guys had eaten there, that was also like 6 tables, like small. And I think these chefs do a lot better work when you kind of focus down and trim down. And you're like, this is how many people I have to deal with a night. And it's like to just really nail down the ingredients of things you can't get a lot of and just be like, this is the experience, this is what you're getting. But there's no more small spaces in town, which is the issue. It's, again, all big rent, big money.
Right.
So,
Brianna, do you have anything from the bar standpoint that you'd like to see change?
Yeah, I do. I want to see the nightlife change a bit. I just feel like everyone closes a different time right now, despite the last call drinking time being 4 o'clock, serving time. But I just feel that we don't have a great variety of music venues, late night dance clubs. There's not a whole lot of places to go. And I'm usually one of the last bars open on Caroline Street, which, it's great for business, but I would love if everyone kind of just was able to control the crowd and we could keep it going and just make it more lively, especially in the off season. So it's not just those 7 weeks of track that are so busy and fun.
I saw a lot of stuff about they were trying to change the closing time, so it's still 4
They
technically?
kept it at 4, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but a lot of places I feel like close it too.
Right.
And then you have to find one of the places. So you guys stay open later than 2.
Yeah, we'll do like an extra hour.
Yep. This will come out post track season, but we're kind of in the height of track season right now. Do you guys consider Saratoga a seasonal town? And I'll go to Jake first.
the numbers say yes. I think we've all seen that, is that the numbers say yes, it is. And certainly, like, it prolongs into the winter a certain extent. Like, September is always down, then October, the leaf peeping season is good for, I think, a lot of businesses. But then come, like, the January until March, I think every business owner is like, all right, like, which staff do I have to fire? Which staff do I have to keep? Who's important, who's not? And you're just, like, sitting there being, like, trying to give everyone 40 hours and be like, okay, yeah, we're totally not seasonal, and keep telling yourself that. But it is, historically now and forever, it'll probably be around the track until something is mitigated, or until the populace continues to increase thanks to the chip fab plants, or more investment in upstate New York. But as of now, it's like that's the thing. People, you talk to any, especially in the when I was working at Slava, the people, it's all people who are just like, yeah, we've come up here for years,
Right.
constantly, And you meet the crowds, and you're like, yeah, these are the people who come up here and just hang out at the track, even seeing them too. It's people who like come to make a week out of the track, and that's their summer vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys agree? Nick?
I would say it's definitely seasonal. Like, Ciro's is only open
Right.
for track season.
Yeah.
I would say not only is it seasonal, I think we're starting to get a second summer season now with what Naira's been doing with the track. Growing up, it was always the August place to be. And I know, at least from my restaurant's stance, our numbers definitely shift drastically starting right about now through September in terms of how many people we're feeding. And I think thanks to Naira, and not thanks to Naira, because I think a little bit of it's getting greedy and stretching something a little too far. You may disagree, obviously, over at Ciro's, but we almost have 2 summers now. We have the summer that starts in May, and then the real Saratoga summer that starts now and through Labor Day. But I would definitely agree with Jake. Wintertime,
Yeah.
you have your regulars who don't or want to come out, and you've got Skidmore, so there's always parents coming in and conferences. But for the vast majority of us, especially being on the smaller side, the places I really used to see from the conventions that keep Saratoga busy all year round were like Longfellows, or now probably Brookmere, or those larger scale places that have the capacity for dining and staying all at one.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say too, there are glimpses like in the off season, the conventions you mentioned before, and the whole Skidmore is actually one of the biggest economic boons to Saratoga, believe it or not, outside of Naira.
Yeah.
But like there are days where those conventions, you're like, yes, like, there's like a chess event in March, and people are like, oh, it's like a random, no, it's like April 1st. I'm like, oh, yeah, April 1st. Who cares? It's going to be a slow day every year. Then I get caught off guard by like a mob of parents and their children coming, and I'm like, ugh. So, but there's still days out there, but even then it's like, people look at Chowderfest too and just like, yeah. So
Yeah.
you can make it work, but yeah.
Yeah.
Totally seasonal.
So next year we have Belmont, so it'll be the same next year. But then, in theory, when we go back, is that gonna, be an adjustment for businesses after having that push in June? Nick?
I think definitely, not to jump on anyone there, but growing up again in town, you become accustomed to something. And then when you give us a little catalyst or change something for a couple of years, you get used to that again. And I know, being such a small restaurant, I have staff that relies on us for their, support their family. So we can give a lot more hours for a longer period of time this year and last year and next year. But if Belmont's not here again, there's going to be no reason for people to be coming in June.
Right.
or the beginning half of July, we'll go back to the old school track, I think, which I do think economically we're going to see number shifts, especially in the smaller restaurants because people come for it. I mean, we've had a family who's dined with us, I think, 40 times from Belmont through Labor Day. They have 40 reservations, and I don't know how you can eat the same food 40 times and not get sick of it. But we won't have them probably half of that in 2027. So I think it's going to be a big shift for all of us.
Yeah.
Belmont was a great weekend. It was a record weekend for us.
Oh, really?
Not living through Travers there yet. But I think that it's just one busy weekend. Everyone left town. It kind of just felt like normal summer crowd after that. So I'm viewing it as just losing one good weekend, which could always be replaced with some other event that we could bring to
Saratoga
town.
could pull together and get something else.
A block party.
Right. The Caroline Street block party.
Oh, I would love to bring it back.
Yeah. Jacob.
I would honestly put money on Naira being like, yeah, so we're not doing Belmont anymore, but what if we just kept doing the track in June anyway?
Right.
Because they're closing Aqueduct soon, and they're like, well, more city money gone. Like, let's put it upstate. That's what we're looking for. Is hockey will pro upstate, keep shoveling money up here and pretend it's a good idea.
I'd actually be willing to bet, just because I like to follow horse racing a lot, Belmont is not anywhere near completion in any way, shape, or form. If it weren't for the Breeders' Cup in 27, I think we could count on Belmont at least 2 more summers. But I definitely see racing probably staying here.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to have the draw because we're not going to have those stakes races. I do see them shifting Aqueduct up here.
It'll be interesting to see. On the topic of track season, does anyone have a crazy track season story that is PG-13? Not rated R.
Like, are we talking like at the track or just something crazy that happened during track?
In a restaurant, like, I don't know. I've seen like,
does it have to be
up on my patio?
Does it have to be our restaurant?
No.
So I worked at Longfellow's in high school, and they used to have what was called a romance package, and it was a 4-course dinner for 2 and a night at the inn. Well, unfortunately, especially during track season, more times than not, the definition of a romance package slipped into the dining room, and there were a lot of times, especially as a busser growing up, we'd have to take their dinner to their room at the hotel and just leave it outside. So I'll keep it there to leave it PG-13, but unfortunately that happened more times than not back then.
Anyone else? I have zeros. Nothing.
Zeros, there has to be so many stories. I don't know if I can share.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is all of us being like, if our former employer heard us tell this story, I don't think they'd be happy a lot of the
it's
time.
all from previous. Yeah.
Yeah, I think none of us modern day, I mean, I don't know. It just gets busy, and we're just like, as owners, you're just like, you sit there and you're like, okay, cool, it's busy. You're just like, you tune out all the bad things that happen. You put them away in a box. You're like, we're never talking about these. My restaurant is a perfect example of what I do. And we pretend nothing bad happens at a restaurant. So,
all right. What is your biggest restaurant pet peeve? Like when you go to a restaurant, as people who work in the industry, Nick?
Spots on glassware. I don't care what size you are. I remember when Olive Garden and Clifton Park opened. We walked in there and it was like day 2 and sat down and left because the water glasses had food stuck to them and spots everywhere. Not to throw them under the bus, but
Sorry, Olive Garden.
I don't think they're worried.
Anyone else have?
Yeah, I would say shitty steak knives. They're my biggest pet peeve. If you're spending $200 on a steak and you hand me something that, the Outback has, the cut pumpernickel bread, it's not really a good thing.
What are you guys getting? I assume Noah's will have top of the line.
Yeah.
Cutlery?
Yeah, we're gonna have the display one where you bring it to the table and stuff. But yeah, I think that's my biggest pet peeve is the steak knife.
Yeah. You got one, Jake?
yeah, mine's actually, I think it's weird for me at least because a lot of restaurants around here don't care about it. But it's proper wine service because I'm like a stickler about wine.
Okay.
And I think I had one experience in town somewhere where I bought a bottle of champagne and they bring it to the table and they open it, but he rips out the cork so it makes a loud pop. And anyone knows a good server pulls it's a light hiss.
Okay.
Zach Denham over at Bocage will tell you it's just he calls them angel farts. And I'm like, oh, lovely. But it's a light hiss, and then when you pour, the label's supposed to be facing towards you.
Yeah.
And I think they poured my champagne facing backwards, and I was like, I was offended.
I don't want it anymore.
And I was like, take it away. But it's like one of those weird like fine dining. I mean, I sell hamburgers, but it's one of those weird fine dining things where I'm just like, very particular about how you do something that's like so integral to an experience, especially with wine.
Yeah.
So, but that's my wine service pet peeve.
Yeah. You got one? Bree?
I'll stay silent on that.
You're
We'll come for Tin Lint.
All right. Okay. I do have a question for you, Bree. So you took over Tin Lint around Easter time this year. So can you speak a little bit about how you've been navigating keeping Tin Lint like relevant in 2025 without changing the spirit of this like iconic Saratoga watering hole?
Yeah, I had to be very careful not to change the spirit because so many people travel there, come to Saratoga to see Tin Lint. It's iconic. A lot of people, it's third generation that's been drinking there, visiting there. Lots of stories and memories shared. There's always people that come in and tell me they met there and they're now married, 3 kids. It's really great. So I had to just make sure that I just updated it without changing the aesthetic. So that was the main thing, just people walking in, noticing a few minor changes, things that were in disrepair and had to be updated, but keeping it overall the same. And I actually had a customer come in recently, and I love this quote. He was like, something's different here. He's like, I can tell that it's different, but it's still sticky. And I'm like, yes, it's still sticky. We're keeping it the same.
That's amazing. And a new men's bathroom.
Yes,
was crucial.
That was needed. I just didn't want to smell it when I walked in.
And so, Nick, kind of the same question. You took over Danny's earlier this year. So how much of yourself are you putting into it, and how much are you keeping the same? How are you striking that balance?
I think the only real thing I'm trying to change and make it myself is just some of my family photos. The whole point in buying Danny's was to keep it Danny's. It's never going to be the same place it was, obviously, without Danny being the chef. But I think, my team has done the best that they're able to do with the cards they've been dealt. It's actually funny. We've had a couple people come in arguing that Danny had to have been in the kitchen because plates are similar. Then we've had some who, they're not as happy with it, but you're not going to win them all. And I'm just trying to, keep it the best we can. Because similar to Bree with Tin Lint, Saratoga in my lifetime has lost so many of our staple pieces that I wish my kids are going to be able to grow up going to. Like, I will forever miss the Reserve. Obviously, it still exists, but it was once the Reserve, and that place was always popping for at least our generation, I think. I don't know what my sons are going to do when they're of age or not out on Caroline, because there's not really that cool nightclub vibe as, to your point earlier. So I think if we can try to keep the places as similar as possible, we're going to be in a good shape.
Yeah. And then, so Noah, when this comes out, maybe I don't know what your timeline is for the opening of Noah's. Do we have a timeline?
Yeah, as soon as track season's over, we're going to open.
So it'll be probably around the time that this comes out. But, so these 3 bought existing restaurants, and you're in the process of opening a new restaurant. So what's something that a lot of people don't realize about opening like a brand new restaurant in Saratoga?
I think it's just the little details of just how hard construction actually is as far as getting everything in. The timeline is just the biggest part, right? I hire a plumber, and, that plumber takes 10 other jobs, and then it's how does he come to your restaurant on time and gets the job done in a timely fashion, Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is just the construction part.
And then Jake, so you are like a veteran. You bought your restaurant last January.
It's been a year and a half now.
So with all of your wisdom, do you have any advice for these 3 that are kind of just setting out?
Yeah, I mean, I was drawn about this before we started, but the first year is like, honestly, it's always the hardest because you're adapting, you're putting in systems, you're making things your way. And then like, you're at a point where you're like, well, I want to spend money in X, Y, Z. It's not there yet. Sometimes you're sitting there being like, all right, cool. And so, cause for us now, we finished our first like remodel, like just prior to track season. That was the most money I've ever spent, like put back in the restaurants. And they'd be like, all right, cool. But like once you have your system set up, it'll feel way easier. Like, first track season, we're like, all right, cool, this sucked, but next year you'll be going into it being like, you have the numbers, you know how to appropriately staff, because I don't know how much you inherited from your prior owners. I got my monthly numbers, and that was kind of it. And I was like, this is how busy the month looks. But then you modify your own schedule and like what works for you. So, but once that's all it is like getting your own system in place, and that a whole year of that, and you're good. I feel like, but it's Yeah, I'm at a point now where after this summer, I'm just like, yep, autopilot, we're good.
Yeah.
Not like in a bad way, in a sense where it's like I feel comfortable doing my part.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Well, you
where
just recently brought in alcohol, right?
Yeah, I got full liquor now.
Okay.
So we're hopefully happy hour soon, all that kind of stuff. But we have full liquor, and we built a whole bar, and we're working on zhuzhing up the hallway, the rest of the space, all that kind of stuff. It's not like I sell hamburgers, so for me, it's like it's not a dive, but it's like you got to have like weird things. Like I don't have Tito's and I don't have any of those things, but I sell Austrian potato vodka and you're going to like it.
Okay.
But again, it all falls into like having your own system on these things where
Yeah.
it's like, again, you have your system and you'll have your own reps, and once your reps know you, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then Bree, I know you've been doing some funky things. You had a Love Island viewing party. Can you talk a little bit about what is happening there, or not yet?
Sure, definitely. I'm always looking for new ideas on events that we can do, what can bring people in, what's fun, what's something that I would want to do that I can't go do in town, so I'll do it at my bar, host little parties and events and things. But everyone does karaoke, everyone has the same people performing live music. I'm like, what's something I can do that's outside of the box? Everyone wanted to watch Love Island. I have yet to watch an episode. I was too busy behind the bar. But we were just like filming our own little reality TV show in there. We're calling it Love at the Tin, and we're just having fun with it. Like, we're trying to find different things for each night. I'm going to do a girls and gays night, trying to just, make it a really inclusive, fun, community-based bar.
Yeah. I was brainstorming with my friend if we had a bar, what we would do, and one of the ideas was Nickelback and Pickleback. So you only play Nickelback music. It's a very niche crowd.
That is. But the divorced dads would be there.
Divorced dad's night. Yeah. You should do a divorce.
I can't say that loud because it sounds like a bad idea, but we had a happy hour idea like that for Mondays, but I can't. It's going to be like a t-shirt advertising only thing because it sounds awful in concept. So I'm not going to advertise.
You'll have to
it.
tell us.
You'll
after
see
the
it. You'll see it one day.
Turn off. No, because Saratoga Living, we host some singles events, and it's always the people like singles with kids, like divorced moms are looking for. So you could do something with the divorced dads. But okay, and then Noah, tell me what's happening upstairs at Noah's. It's 2 floors. So the downstairs is a regular restaurant, and then
downstairs is a regular restaurant, and then the upstairs. So, I walked up there and I kind of wanted to maximize the space. So we built a lofted 3rd floor upstairs that's got a glass. It's all glass. And then I kind of, my favorite thing, growing up was I loved the movie The Mask, and I loved the scene where Cameron Diaz is kind of singing at the supper club, and there's tables and chairs in front of him. And I kind of wanted to kind of make it that vibe where it's like 2 separate identities because the restaurant is huge. And then in the back kitchen, the kitchen, the whole floor was slanted down, and kind of how do you maximize that so you can make revenue? And so we built a chef's table kitchen where it would be a 16-seat table, and then they can book where me or one of my staff members cooks in front of you, and you kind of get the full experience where you come through the back door, and it's like you're in the Goodfellas where you're going through the back kitchen, and but we're super excited about it.
Yeah, I am too. Okay, so there's so many bars in Saratoga and there's so many restaurants. So how do you guys approach setting yourself apart from, how do you convince someone to go to your place instead of another place when they want to grab dinner, whether they're grabbing a burger or, an Italian dinner? Yeah, Noah?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is not focus on anyone else, right? And just focus on what you do and what you're good at.
Yeah.
And that's the problem where I think people get caught up in is, there's 5 restaurants, Italian restaurants in Saratoga, yes. But, what do you do that separates yourself different is you just be yourself, right? And I think that's the biggest thing is just staying true to yourself and not worry and focus on what other people are doing.
Yeah, I like that answer. And I feel like, Nick, you kind of got at that. You're like, we already do it well, like, keep it going.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off Noah for a second. Given the fact, look at how many Italian restaurants Saratoga does have. We're all different. Every single one of us offers something different that the other one doesn't. Whether it's Northern Italian food, Southern Italian food, Noah with his steakhouse style he's coming in with. I don't think you need to do anything. Just keep yourself honed in, do what you do best, and focus on yourself. Because if you look at everybody else, then you're going to miss what's happening in your own place.
Yeah. Did you have something, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna just piggyback off it, just say what Noah said, and just be like, yeah, just do a good job. That's it.
And
It's
have
really
fun with it.
Yeah, it's really not that hard. Like,
Yeah.
do a good job, have fun with it, and like understand, like, a lot of the time, like, people come to my restaurant for me. Sometimes you're just like, people go to Noah's for Noah.
Right.
That's sometimes how it works. Like, you go there, and sometimes you want to see the chef, step out, talk to him. I do it at my restaurant a lot.
Right.
Whereas we have regulars who pop in, and like they're expecting to talk to me, and I'm seeing there. Some days they can see I'm not talking, but other days you're just like, oh yeah, and the same things. It applies to a lot of restaurants
Yeah.
too. You see Brendan floating around Familiar a lot. You see Ronnie floating around Salevo, Ryan over at Henry Street and Kindred.
Yeah.
They all these owners, they float around their restaurant, and that's like, these are places people like and love, and it's our staples in town.
Yeah.
You want to see an active owner who actively is like trying to improve the vibe of the place. So
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I just ran into you at Familiar Creature, and I assume you were there to see Jerry, not for...
I was there for Gerald. Yes. I, that bartender experience is different. I mean, I get it.
Okay, that's different
But
than
even
the
then, you're hiring characters as bartenders too. I'm sure Bree knows it too, where it's like, I was in the process of like talking to bartenders about hiring bartenders and be like, hey, like, it's like, just tell your regulars that you're going here. Like, yeah, no, I got you, because these people have their regulars,
Without a doubt.
And they'll follow the bartender. wherever they
exactly.
go. What would you guys say is like the biggest struggle that bars or restaurants are facing right now? You guys specifically, or others that you've talked to?
I'd say all the heightened costs recently. A lot of people don't think about how much, say, a bottle of Kettle One or a case of Kettle One costs and the difference between the two. Prices have gone up, but the average income has not yet.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people, what's the first thing you're going to cut? It's going to go out to drink or eat from your budget if you're trying to penny pinch. So hopefully, things will change on that horizon. Thankfully, we haven't really seen too bad from the consumer standpoint, but from the supplier and the purveyor standpoint, things have gone through the roof in the past couple months, which definitely at some point it's going to put a pinch on everybody, and then you're going to have to raise your prices. And when you raise your prices, the customer is going to get mad and offended by that and not want to conform. And I think just if that's our biggest obstacle right now.
Yeah, with the whole thing with eggs recently. Do you guys have eggs?
I'm not doing eggs anymore, but it's across the board though, because he mentions, but it's all prices, because it's like, this time last year, I think beef cost me probably about, $3.40 a pound for the ground beef I was bringing in. Now it's like up to, $4.20, $4.50. I'm sitting here being like, this is insane.
Right.
Steaks last year, I bought 0x1s. 0x1s for reference is like whole strips.
Okay.
I bought a 0x1 for 10 pounds. And this year I went to go buy them. They're $13 a pound now.
Yep.
So it's like just these little things across the board. And then even like Nick said, when it comes to like liquor and wine, like they just announced the 15% tariff on European stuff. So you're sitting here being like, all right, cool. Well, with a lot of the higher end wine that these two will probably be selling, you think about that, if I talk, because the only numbers I typically know are champagne, a bottle of Veuve Frontline is probably about $50. A 15% tariff on $50, you're talking, that's an extra, $7.50.
Right.
So you're talking, it's going from $50 to nearly $60. And that, when you're marking up on your end, like, do you want the consumer to be like, oh, you're paying this extra money for these things, or are you going to like eat the cost yourself?
Yeah.
And that's even on the distributor front too, is like your distributors are just like, hey, it's like, sorry, I can't commit to these prices we used to commit to, but.
Yeah.
And people are just like, oh, get local. It doesn't work like that with wine. I'm not,
Right.
as much as I might like weird Finger Lakes, and like Vermont wines, there's still something to be said about,
Italian wine.
Italian wines, Premier Cruise, all these like champagnes, like you can't get, there's champagnes made in Champagne specifically, It's like all these microclimates are there for a reason, just being like, oh, well, you can't buy local with wine.
Yeah. That
So.
makes sense. Yeah. All right. So if you guys were like starving and you needed something to eat, what's your go-to in Saratoga? Your go-to dish?
Quick bite, or we're sitting down?
Either.
I always go to Ciro's, my favorite restaurant.
What do you get at Ciro's?
Whatever the chef sends out.
What do you do in the off season?
Off season, where do I usually go? 15 Church.
Okay.
I've been exploring like Albany more, but for Saratoga, I feel like I frequent the same spots. I'll have to stop into Danny's. I'm long overdue.
Yeah. All right, Noah.
you come back to me on this one?
Skip Noah.
Definitely Henry Street Tap Room on Tuesdays for oysters.
Oh, yeah. Is it dollar oysters?
It's
Or
dollar oysters all year long.
on a Tuesday? Interesting. Okay.
However, for brunch, we'll keep it in that family. Kindred.
Yep.
They have, hands down, probably one of the best brunches in town.
Yeah.
How low can I go on this one? Like, you say quick bite, and I'm sitting here being like, what do I want to eat? Like, after a long shift at my restaurant,
Yeah.
and it's hot and sweaty, and I'm just like, I need food.
Yeah.
Price Chopper sushi. Every single time. I love imitation crab. I don't know what it is about imitation crab, but I know it's pollock. I know what the fish is, but the imitation crab bowl at Price Choppers, by far, like, I need food. That's what I'm eating. That or like a turkey club wrap. There's something to be said about just like dirt cheap food. I mean, because that's what I sell, so I appreciate, like, you know, if I'm going to go out for like a little meal, then I don't know. Probably at this point, I just go to Creature and Caesar salad, and
We're calling it creature now. It's so familiar that you've dropped the familiar part.
it's too many words sometimes.
Okay, yeah, it's
like
mouthful.
Hamlet and Ghost got turned into Hamlet,
Yeah.
and you know, Danny's is Danny's. You know, people don't say the whole name of these
Okay.
restaurants anymore.
I heard, oh my God, what did I hear the other day? Oh, Coops. You guys know what Coops is?
No.
Yeah. Someone called Cooperstown Distillery Coops. I was like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I mean, people just say comfort for us sometimes too. Is the
Yeah.
biggest thing. So
Yeah.
All right, last food spot, because I frequent this place often. The hot dog stand outside EBI.
Yes, I knew that about you.
Oh, it's so good. I could eat there every day.
What is it? Saratoga Awesome Dog?
Awesome
When it's
Dogs,
raining,
yeah.
yes.
I got to figure out when they close
3 o'clock.
for the year.
Oh, for the year.
She's like,
when it gets cold
I'm
out,
301 and I can't go.
yeah. No, did you come up with one?
Yeah, I would say Hamlet and Ghost is probably my go-to in
Yeah.
town. I go there probably twice a week.
Yeah. What do you get? The burger. I've heard the burger's good.
The burger's great. Yeah. I mean, their beef tartare is always amazing. And then their kind of composed oysters I like. And then they actually had a cucumber salad that kind of
yeah, I had that last night.
was insane. I don't like I would never order cucumber, and it was just like perfect. Yeah.
And then my last question is, what's your favorite thing about owning a business in Saratoga?
So, yeah, I'll start. I mean, there's like a mild notoriety to it where you're just like, you know, it's like you're in a club. Like, not to put it in a weird way, but it's like, I've known like all these, like I've known, again, Ryan, Ronnie, Brendan, Dylan forever. Like all these people, even his brother Brady too. Like I've known all these people, and it's like you buy a business, and it's like, oh, like there's more of like a community to it now, where it's like, you know, they'll talk shop to me, and I'll talk, you know, we'll talk about like, hey, is this month down, is this month up, you know, and just get like a general consensus of town. Dan over at Broadway Deli has been a big help to me. Just like all these people are like, you know, they're looking out for you as long as you're like a good person. Because they want to see other good business owners in town, and you know, all prop each other up. Like Zach and Clark too have been great additions. Like all these people, you're just like, oh, you know, these are people where before you couldn't have a candid conversation, but now that you're in it with them, everyone's way more candid, and it makes you feel like you're really in it.
Yeah. Anyone, Nick?
I think like the best part is so Danny's was always one of my favorite restaurants, and Danny actually called me the day my sons were born and asked if I was interested. So that will always ever hold a special spot, but owning a place in my hometown definitely is great. And to piggyback off what Jake said, now that I'm in that seat, everyone's so helpful. Mario at West Ave has been absolutely invaluable to me.
He makes your focaccia, right?
He does. He makes
Yeah.
our focaccia, the only place he makes it for. Dan at Saratoga Broadway Deli in Bibulus, which if anyone has not gone to Bibulus yet, you've got to give them a shot. He's been insanely helpful. Everyone, I mean, even Noah, we were into track season. I ran out of rocks glasses one night, shot him a text, like, go grab them if you need them.
Yep.
It's teamwork.
Yeah.
Not going to say we always all get along, but I don't think anyone wants to see the other one fail. It's not why we're in business. There was a saying on a shirt I had back in college, you don't go far alone. You'll get there fast, but you'll fail. And that's the truth. Life's a marathon, not a sprint, so I'm in it for the long game.
Yeah. And while I'm talking to you, say the full name of your restaurant.
Osteria Danny. Some people call it Osteria Danny.
But-
Danny's.
I'm gonna stay with Danny's because I can't decide which way to say it.
I think
every
if you
time.
look at common conversations and online at websites, everyone just calls it Danny's.
Yeah.
What does Osteria mean?
It means tavern or small, like, gathering space.
Is it an Italian word?
It is.
Yeah.
but depending on what part of Italy you're from, it's pronounced in a different.
Oh, okay. So I'm correct
never
to
be
not
wrong.
know. Right. Okay.
There's either way you can say it, but I mean, the best part is in my own account calls it Danny Osteria. I don't know if you've ever been in the office when Carm's talking about, but he's
Yeah.
always like Danny's Osteria, and it's like that's just not the name.
Certainly not correct. What about you guys? Your favorite part about owning a spot here?
I think the coolest part for me is like being from Albany. Everything's so spread out, where Saratoga is more of like a tight niche community, and I mean, as far as upstate, I mean, it's really the only city you have. So I think that's the coolest part. I mean, you can walk outside and go to another restaurant. It's just the community support, I think, is really, really cool here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, not growing up in Saratoga, as soon as I moved here, I was like, okay, there's no other place in upstate that I would live. And I feel like everyone was so welcoming with open arms. Like, being in the service industry, you get to know everyone. I'd always say, like, I see everyone either working in restaurants or eating at restaurants. Anyone else have any other type of job here? Like, it's all just restaurant people. But it's very close-knit, and this community has been awesome. It's so supportive. And owning a bar restaurant in this town, you'll really see that.
Yeah. All right. That's all I have, guys. Is there anything that's like eating you alive that you've been dying to say?
I'm thinking, well, it's mostly, again, I just want to reiterate, like, keep Saratoga small. Like, I don't, I think if we've seen there's been so much, I feel like, development lately of especially like all these big buildings. Like, I appreciate what these big things bring to town, but like seeing these monoliths of buildings being built downtown, like the Adelphi remodel, now the old Borders building remodel, whatever, finger paint building, what people want to call it, used to be Borders. And the new hotel going up on South Broadway, you're sitting here being like, okay, cool. Well, like, at what point is this unsustainable? And what point should we look more to like high density, low cost housing versus high density, high cost housing? Because this is like, the biggest issue in town is that, I love all my staff, but all my staff have the same background currently where they're all, I pay them as much as I can, but typically, coming into my job, they're making more money, but they all live in trailer parks outside of town. Nothing wrong with living in trailer parks, but this is like the lowest form of like high density housing is like these trailer parks. And you're like, all right, well, why can't we bring these things closer to town and stop this divide of like individuals who have to use, whatever public transport we have,
Right.
which is
Not much.
not performing,
Yeah.
versus, having places that are in town that are walkable and that, again, that are, lower cost. The closest one to downtown for lower income housing is the Entrada over by the post office. I think anywhere else there's not much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they can't afford to live in town. And
Can't afford to
work
live
at-
in town. So for us, it's mostly like it's going to be a worker squeeze at some point. Push comes to shove, and it's it's an issue that as restaurateurs we should be kind of more privy to, versus having to hire individuals driving 30, 40, 50 minutes to work. So
Yeah.
That's a great point. I think, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I know we can attest to it. Saratoga's changed way too much, and I don't think necessarily for the better in terms of some of the stuff they've been building and these sky rises, or what we call a sky rise.
Right.
just a reminder the city audience is that for the longest time nothing can be built higher than City Hall. That was the rule. That's why the one that's in the pit over there, the Hampton Inn in the pit, that's why it's so tall.
Because it's
Doesn't
higher.
go higher than City Hall.
So I think if they can maybe just look around and ask why they're doing it and forget about the bottom line and the money that's being made behind it, I think we'll be better off. I just want the next generations to experience the Saratoga I experienced.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.